Hey ho! Hello everybody. Okay. Sorry, thought you got away with that, didn't you? There were no more of that, but unfortunately somebody sent me another one. This time, a man claiming to be the Rothschild. So, I thought I haven't read it all, to be fair. But what I did read, I could see clearly the distinction, as the other guy was saying, ruling, and then when you listen to this character, puppet. So I thought that were enough of reason perhaps to have a look at this stuff, because so this one was 2011, so quite a few years after the so-called elite insider, where we had a Rothschild come out and spew his bile. So it is a rather interesting little bit of data. So give people a chance to come in, but watched a very interesting video again. Somebody sent me. She's called. Let me just bring her up. Alison McDowell. Now, a lot of people have probably heard of her. She has been around for quite a while, and she began with her specialising in the education out in it, as it were. And we did around the same time. That's about the same time, 2008, when I started getting stuck into exposing ARC academies, which was basically the spearhead for the incorporation of education. And of course, we were finding paedophile rings. We were finding paedophile rings, and Epstein, all involved in the spearhead for incorporating all our education. So we went a bit ballistic on that. Caused quite a lot of problems for it. Its chairman, Arpad Bhushan, stepped down as a direct result from what we carried out our investigations from this office. So this girl was also getting involved. Now, I have watched the majority of this. It's a 3-hour video, and it is 3 hours, not because she waffles on, but because she knows her subject matter inside and out, so she has a lot to say. So I watched it almost to the end, and then I went back to the beginning and started taking notes. I thought the best thing to do with this is it needs shortening, because what she's actually done in this video is show you exactly what this all nonsense is about. So, well, I'm putting it together, as I said, and I'll probably make a video about it as opposed to do it on a live stream, because obviously there's images, etc., which I can't pull together on this system because I can't use the software. My it won't open the software to use it, so I can flick around from pictures and images, etc. So it'll probably be better for me making a video. But basically, what she's saying is, as we've already established and investigated in these videos this last couple of years, they shifted us off man into person, which was basically a license for the church to carry out its actions with our blessing on our title. So that was the first move off man. And then more shenanigans when they created the birth certificate, which was a split title off the original, owned by the Crown, with the addition of a surname. So then they shoved us into the deeper straw man, as you might say. So earlier in the last year's videos, I did touch on the fact that everything was being shifted into the internet. We looked at Frankenstein, that the little monster they create at the birth, etc., etc. So we've sort of looked at all these scenarios of the mechanic to how they achieve that. But what this young lass, Alison, has put together is how they are doing the same format. So it's securitizing debt, it's hedging the bets, etc., etc. But what's happening now with the collection of all the data that's been going on since FaceAche, etc. Now LinkedIn is part of it because Microsoft bought it. All this data that they've actually created on us, collected on us all, has created an avatar. And this avatar is then being embedded in this cyberspace. And basically, the avatar is being formulated based on the data that they collect on your day-to-day through your smart tele, your smart meters, your smart fridge, your smart this, your smart that, your da 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 da, and your smartphone. Now they've injected this interface into everybody that's took this shot. They can basically, without the phone and the apps, although they are still essential, looking at the way this technology is going, but through this interface, they're going to be able, probably going to be easier to read your emotional state, your body temperature, your heart rate, your reactions to stimuli. So if they want to set something up and set it before you, your reaction to that is collecting data, and based on how well you sort of deal with whatever they put in before you. So for instance, if you rebel against what it is they put before you, that you're going to be bad. You're not going to be. Your avatar isn't going to have the value to this news equity system as it would if you sort of dealt with the situation and conformed with what it were they were trying to encourage you to do. So that's basically what she's, in great detail, I might add, has put together. So this avatar then is going to be securitized, you know, in the same way the birth certificate, and it's just all going to start again. And it's the hedge funds that are going to be moving this cyber you, as it were. So you'll gain life in the cyber world as your physical reality is restricted. Can you see what I'm saying? So it's quite heinous. It's insane, basically, an absolute insanity what they set up. And now we've got a Rothschild or a claimant, somebody's saying they are. We may get a better idea of their mindset, because these are the puppets that are using the tools, we might say, that the elite insider explained to us that they're dishing out all the time, and they've chosen to use it in this rather dubious way. So very interesting. So I will make a video on shortening Alison's work, so it's a bit more palatable, but so works in sync with everything that we don't understand about the birth certificate and the fiction that created. So extremely interesting, and it does look like we are pretty much now can see exactly what they're doing, and it makes sense. There's nothing now that's a bit mysterious when you take on board what Alison's actually brought to the table. Very well, I might add. So full kudos to Alison for that, I have to say. So who have we got on? Anton, hello. Slipknot, hello. Jace Ventura, hello. Oh, you're good morning, of course. You're in the old Aussie land, aren't you? Insane, all right. Yeah, you can say that again. Although there's some good stuff going on in your Melbourne. There's massive protest, and I believe there's another one organised for next week against this nonsense bill that's going to give them the ability to basically put you. So this Daniel Andrews tit, full-blown Zionist, operating via his Chinese handlers, because of course Zionism fully controls China, the corporation. Israel's basically fed it all its tech like it did with the Soviet Union, you know, and so the centerpiece that is Israel. Oh, and by the way, what Alison's also, as I've said, everything's going to be centered. Everything that's coming forward in this new system is going to be organized out of Israel. And everything that she said also shows that is the case. So everything's going to Israel. But I did also mention in one of the previous videos that Freighter 616, who you can find on the Alpha, in profile, the Alpha course in my little website, where he says and states that Israel is actually being controlled from, I think, Sydney in Australia, because his old thesis was telling and explaining how Australia had been completely formed into the ultimate satanic state, if you will, which has been achieved because the Aussies, for the last, since the Vietnam War, have had nothing but pleasurable lifestyle, made up of many immigrants that fled there after the Second World War. And it's actually served it well, the different cultures that are in Australia. But a lot of them are now fleeing back to the European homes, the Greeks, the Serbs, etc. So a lot of European immigrants are moving out of Australia back to Europe, which I thought was interesting. Good turnout in Melbourne. There is issues with the organisers, though. A few dodgy players are messing things around. Well, it's interesting you say that, Jace, because I have a friend in Australia, and we speak every day, so I'm pretty much on the ball as well, like you put there. But when I put the Crystal video out, I got a lot of emails where they were really adamant, these guys, that, look, all these players in Australia are controlled opposition, they're all operating to the same network, and that included Crystal. And I have to say, since that video, the stuff that I've looked at again, and then looked at some of these reports where it's showing that a lot of these people are all networks, you know what I mean? And just pushing out bullshit to make people in Australia think that something's actually being done, which is what they're expert at, If you think something's being done, it's less of an impulse for you to get off your ass and actually do something. So I do see in Australia that the main play that they're doing is that they're actually controlling the Australian population via the TV entirely. The television is creating the fear, and so many have gone for this shot. But of course, as we can see from this recent protest, there is a hell of a lot that aren't taking it. So that's good news indeed. And here they've put off the forcing of the NHS staff to take the shot till April. My guess is because they're obviously expecting all the side effects of all the numpties that have took it so far to start kicking in, which they do appear to be doing. I'm hearing heart attacks now everywhere, flooded the hospitals, and it's heart attacks, and they've all double shotted. So that's absolutely going on. So much so that they're not actually spread. You don't hear much going on in the UK, the corporation, as to it's blaming the unshotted, because of course clearly the figures in the hospitals are showing the inverse of that. So that's lessened in its sense. But I suppose if they get round that little trick that we looked at last week, where they're forcing the booster shot, if you don't get it, you're going to be classed as unshotted, and they can then claim that the hospitals are full of the unshotted. So maybe that's when they'll start attacking that side of things again. But the data clearly is showing contrary, that there are no non-shotted in the hospitals outside of you just run-of-the-mill splinters and your garbage stuff. So there you go. And I believe, but then I don't know because I've not checked it out. I've seen signs where they're saying that cancer is going through the roof as well. Again, amongst those that have shown themselves to be rather naive, let's say. Drone footage of Melbourne demo, massive turnout. It was massive, wasn't it? So, you have to question these figures that they're pumping around as to how many percentages have had, as to the percentages that have not. Because I have to say, and I mean, this is probably going to upset anybody that knows me, that knows I know they've had it, but in my experience so far, those that have told me they've had it, it's expected, because there's nothing to them anyway. Do you know what I mean? They're, in most cases, addicted to the NHS. They're unemployed. They're on their pension, and they just watch television all day. That's all they do. They've nothing else going on at all. So it's to be expected that those people have run for this, because that's the way they exist. But there's a lot that haven't. I'd say that I wouldn't even believe half the figures, to be honest, the percentages as they play them. So I'm quite happy that there's a hell of a lot not, and I think they seem to be a bit edgy here in the UK. Although I'm hearing whispers to try it again. Now they may do. I mean, the population have proved themselves pathetic, so they may try it again. I don't know. But There is no signs of it yet, but there are rumblings, and then you can see these silly figures shooting up that are obviously potentially readying for some nonsense down the old merry path of madness. Cancelling the debt, killing the creditor. Well, this is another thing as well. One might think it wouldn't be a debt system that they're transferring into the world of the avatar, but it actually is. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same situation that we've had on the fiat being carried forward into credit, which is why I'm keeping my eye on all this Bitcoin stuff. You really have to understand the blockchain, what it is, and it's not just currency. Blockchain is the system that everybody will be in and nothing will be hidden. So the currency using blockchain is only a part of it. It's not blockchain for the cryptos. You know, that's another misconception that people have. Blockchain is far bigger than that. You could say it's going to be the new internet, the backdrop to it, because everything will be connected apart from the dark web, which I'm actually now looking into. And far from all the scare stuff you get, although you would have to be extremely careful that you don't get yourself into any mischief. But if you want to do secret, if you want to communicate without these tits, just being able to access it easily, then the dark web through Thor, looking at secure drop. So if you went into Thor and brought up secure drop, this is where all the journalists are operating. So if you want to drop a story, you'll drop it in there. So I'm starting to now look at utilizing the dark web, as they call it. And because I don't care, I'm not scared. Who gives a fuck anyway? So that's what I'm looking at now, because this blockchain new system, I can't comprehend exactly how it's going to affect the internet as a whole, but this system that they're setting up is entirely based in the blockchain system, in order that nothing, no transaction, nothing that you do, nothing that an app or a smart appliance picks up isn't logged and then sent to your file for your avatar. You know, it really is that serious what they're doing. But I think this lady has really put it all together, and now there is no mystery. And so once I put this video together, I think it might help us out a bit there, all of us, to be honest. Vicky S. greeting. Hello, Vicky. Slipknot, yes, therefore. Consider blockchain a platform and money. Just one application of that platform. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's only a little tiny part. So back to what I was going to get to, which is, I'm still not, because if you look at what they're doing now, so they've put Bitcoin right up there. Remember, it's still it's not based in anything. It's not anything. It's still just a fantasy. Now, what I've seen pushed on the financial sites that I visit to keep me, my fingers on the pulse. Everywhere you go now, you're getting ads. Sell your gold, get into Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, for me, that's just them trying to get what you have that's solid and is going to be outside the blockchain to get rid of that and get it into this shit. So that being the case, I still feel that Bitcoin is the biggest lemming carrot that's ever been. Now, I don't know. I can't swear to that and say I know for a fact. But from the get-go when it opened, a report I made straight away was that Bitcoin was just a carrot to pull you into operating as if everything was electronic currency. So keep that in mind, people, if you are putting money into Bitcoin, especially with the prices they're asking for it now. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to start looking now at what these big boys. So if you get a crypto mentioned in their shindigs, I might consider. But as I've said, I'm pretty sure none of these currencies are going to have any meaning whatsoever. Because again, it's going to be based on your avatar. Yeah, so interesting. But keep this in mind, people, because it looks like this is exactly what they're up to. With the take down the internet, the reset, false flagged, of course, bye crypto, keep cash alive. Well, I was watching something as well that said the first thing that happens when there's a crash is everybody goes back to cash because they understand cash. It makes sense to them. So that's another interesting. Now, a guy I watched a couple of years ago, who I've got to be honest, I think he was genuine in this gem. As our elite insider of the last two videos said, you've got to keep your eyes out for the gems that are put out in all this misinformation. And he said this, he said, I can make you a millionaire. He said, it's simple. He said, before the dollar collapses, he said, everybody will rally to it. And they'll rally to it because they understand it. He said, buy the dollar. He said, and when just before it crashes, sell it. He said, and buy another currency. He said, you'll make millions. You'll be a millionaire. So that's another mechanic to keep your eyes on as well. And then if you're investing, you want to be looking at what stocks are essential to this blockchain crap that they're gonna, because they're gonna do it. You know, we're not at a point where we can all rescue it. They're gonna do that. For those that are awake, you need to balance having an existence in it if you so wish, but also looking at being self-sufficient if it's just not for you, full stop. Because I watched a video earlier on Facebook where it was is it the Mirror? No, I'm not sure. I can't remember now. But it was showing you an airport scene. Somebody wanted to fly. The flight was cancelled. She didn't have enough credit score to get on another one. She got upset about it. They all public around her started hitting her app, deducting credits. Then security came. They halved her credits, basically made her out to be almost a terrorist, and she to get out of airport. And that is exactly what you numpties that have took this shot because you wanted to go on holiday have built for them. Hey, clever monkeys. Are you just clever chimpanzees? You're so dumb. Sorry, I shouldn't do that, but why not? Comedy. I think it's called comedy. We used to know what that was. Now, you just get assholes, don't you? Like, who's the uber comedian? And I have to say, the guy makes me laugh because he's uber funny. He did that Golden Globes. I can't remember. Gervais. That guy is the biggest tosser on the planet. They so controlled him, but yet he's given the mantle that you're a loose cannon. That's the idea you've all got in your minds, yeah? And because he's funny, and he is funny, it carries the bullshit. This guy is sucking somebody's cock. I'm telling you now, he does exactly what he's told. So I've started watching some, and I've watched, this guy is so contradictory, but it's not easy to see. If you're just swooning on his act, you're not going to see what I've seen about this guy. This guy is so much up the arse of these puppets, you will not believe it. You would not believe it. So take that as you will. But Ricky Gervais is an absolute tosser, I'm telling you now. And maybe down the line, I'll hang him because this guy is a serious player for the puppet realm. Yeah, definitely. Just be careful with Bitcoin. Do not lose. My advice would be play with it by all means if you've got it. Do not resolve your real tangible assets, property, gold, silver, etc. Any assets that's solid that you've got control of, do not put that into that shit because you will lose one way or another. I'm telling you now. If you don't lose on the currencies, blockchain currencies dying, your avatar will be so shit, it'll be worthless. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to start thinking in these terms because, So Alison, what's she called? Alison McDowell, you good un. She knows her subject matter inside out, which is why she waffled on for 3.5 hours. Verified online. Oh, are they? Well, I did watch a young African guy who built this little. He's into building free energy stuff using spark plugs and magnets. And I have to say, the guy's either a genius or some of his. See, I haven't got round to actually building them myself, but I intend to. Now, he came up with this appliance, again, spark plug magnets, and set it up in a way that once you plugged your phone in, you bypassed all the routers and accessed the internet all on your own. That's the first one I want to test out for myself to build to see if it works. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's because there were a few issues. I thought, well, how does it come up with your browser if you bypass? Anyway, I don't know. I needed to investigate it a little bit more, but more importantly, I need to build it to see if it actually operates as that. But yeah, they can say what they want. This is when we'll all find ways around. So my mindset now, instead of complying and looking at, oh my God, eventually I'll have to, it's fuck that. Yeah. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on, because I'm not interested in your pish. You can get stuffed. So I'm now looking at, well, how do you undermine this area? How do you exist outside of it? It's the only way to do. If you're bright and you're not falling for that, it's your only way you need to be thinking now is, how am I going to move my life without that? You know what I'm saying? It's the only way, folks, because otherwise they'll just grab you in further down the line because you're starving or something. So I think like that as well. I really think this crypto is gonna remove the middle class of its assets, and then next year it's gonna have your house. It's so that the mortgages, the banks are now buying property again on their own back because they're encouraging mortgages. Because as soon as you default, they'll just say, "Look, we'll buy your house back and rent it to you." But then you'll have to be double shotted. You'll have to have mated with 3 cows and a sheep in order you can rent it. You get it? You can see what I'm saying? The reason why all these little estate agents, they think you're friends. No, they're not friends at all. You remember 80s, we all got a good idea what the estate agent's mind is. They're the ones who are going to administer this, or you can't. You've seen how ridiculous the nonsense is now if you want to get a property. Not all of them. Let me rephrase that. There are some belters out there, and I do know a couple. But the majority of the corporate shit suckers, they're going to love kicking you out of your property if you've not got double shotted. So you need to be really looking at how you're going to rebuff them. So I've put out 2 stat decks. Yeah, that's an option. There are others. You need to start getting savvy with these in relation to how you're actually going to rebuff this stuff, because they will come at you. The reason why they're letting all these immigrants in, we had 1,800 in this week. 1,800 floating in. I mean, what? No, they're going to get shotted, aren't they? Then they get the little barbers on Main Road and they're giving they're soldiers, guys. They're soldiers. I've watched them. Okay. They get all on the main roads, and then there's a barber. And it'll say, Italian. Well, no, it's Iraqi, but you might speak Italian. I don't know, but you can see the game. But these people are components of the occupation. That's what they are. They are the British Empire. So all these baby boomers, yeah, you're part of the British Empire, and these are your best mates. These are your best mates, because they're the ones that are going to start turning it into Paris, burning things, kicking things off. And you're going to be like, oh, it's disgusting. No, you sad, stupid pillocks. You're back in the British Empire, and these are the components of it. Grow up, Mr. Baby Boomer. No, because we didn't go on moon as well. Don't forget. We know what we're talking about. No. You don't. Anyway. Let's have a look. Temporary shutdown. Yeah, but I once watched something with a guy that had actually invented the internet. He just can't shut it down. It's impossible. You can turn power off, but you can't actually demolish the internet. However, that was probably 10, 12 years ago. And then they were talking about implementing Internet 2. So perhaps they've already done that. I don't know. I stopped taking any notice, to be honest. No access, no internet shutdown. So then we need to start looking at how the hell do we access the internet without the router. Remember, it's all everywhere, floating around everywhere in its sky. that's how you access it. You're not on a router then, are you? You're accessing it direct. So maybe I need to keep myself ass and have a look at actually put it. Oh, it's 2 radio antennas, if I remember rightly, it uses. Maybe I'll re-look at that video and then we'll talk about it on a live stream or something. Well, I have Shiba Inu. I will let you know how it goes. 67 million. So is that a crypto? 67 million? Do you want to be mate? Anyway, not G and S2. Metaverse. Well, the metaverse. Now, that's an interesting one. I picked this up. Metaverse. Where is it? Here we go. So this is a Discuss blog, and it says the metaverse won't exist without creators like you. So when I read through it, they begin this single. And in all honesty, it doesn't seem like you'll achieve anything more than what you're achieving now. So it says, what is metaverse? It says, well, it's complicated, and it depends who you ask. The concept of the metaverse is famously a bit nebulous and hard to pin down, not to mention that at this stage it remains somewhat theoretical in nature. To borrow Facebook's Sorry Meta's definition, the metaverse is a set of virtual spaces where you can create and explore with other people who aren't in the same physical space as you. Well, isn't that what we do already? Yeah, it's quite ridiculous, this. We'll carry on. Well, that's exactly what we do, isn't it? We all speak to each other while not being in the same physical space. So, is this for primary school? I think this might be for primary school children. Still a bit confused. Well, think of the metaverse as a network of online worlds rendered in persistent real-time 3D in which users interact via personalized avatar. Oh, right. Now I get it. So this is your avatars. So bear in mind, as they build this, you're going to get your physical existence restricted so that you just become that. So this is your technocracy. It's all this twisted shit that they've done with gender. In order that this can be accepted as a person, a legal entity. You know what I'm saying? It all makes perfect sense. I'll tell you, this Alison girl, whoa, she's bagged it. Totally bagged it. I say no, so it's 3D. Now I get that. I must not have seen that when I read it. I must have sped read it. So in personalized advertising, do things like play video games, attend virtual events, or buy virtual goods. Why would you want to buy a virtual good if you can only use it in the virtual world? Can you see what they're doing? So maybe then, if they can get this avatar system going, they can kill you because you're now in there, or they can have your organs. Because I mean, if you're a youngster and it's the youngsters that have gone in for this, like you won't believe, it's your organs they want. They don't want mine. I've been fagging it for years. You know what I mean? I've abused my body, although I'm still quite fit for 22. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, you young'uns that are jumping on this like it's God. You're the organs they're after. So if they've knackered your heart on the shot, well, that's fine. They can have your kidneys, they can have your pancreas, they can have your scrotum, they can have your eyes, they can have your hands, your lungs. Do you know what I'm saying? So just bagging your heart off, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't really matter. You've got all the rest of you to deal with, you know what I'm saying? And once they put you in that coma, well, who's to say? You aren't going to know. You're fast asleep. But here's just one example of where the possibilities lie. Let's say you're shopping online for a new winter coat. What if instead of having to make your decision based solely on glancing at 2D pictures of the coat, you could enter a virtual dressing room and try on the coat yourself, allowing you to see how the jacket looks on you? What the fuck is that garbage? How can you be in an avatar, try on your coat, and then expect it to fit you? Unless, they've got facial recognition. They've got your exact dimensions, haven't they? Well. Oh, that's even more sinister, isn't it? I can tell I've read this after I've watched Alison, because now this makes more sense to me than it did before I watched Alison. So, interesting. Are you getting that? No, that's rubbish. So that's the metaverse, people. According to its advocates, you can just do that and so much more. Only the beginning. Some say that the metaverse could revolutionize the internet and fundamentally alter the digital landscape. Not yet, though. We're still a long way from the metaverse becoming completely functional. Of course, you've had to get this graphene in, you've got to all have these apps so that they are now building your avatar. I mean, they've built the foundations of it. Your feet have been drawn from Facebook, from LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Facebook, all these nonsense garbage that you're all loving and have poured your art out. Although I've noticed the art doesn't get poured out anywhere near as much on Facebook as it did maybe 6 years ago. That was quite funny to watch Facebook on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night when they were all pissed. That was very entertaining, I have to say. You don't get that anymore, they've learned. So it's still a long way from the metaverse becoming completely functional. Like other previous next big things, the concept of the metaverse may never come to fully fruition, or it may turn out to look and feel completely different from how we conceptualize it today. I very much doubt it, given the fact that it's blockchain. It is the reset. So I think they're fibbing a bit there. I think they've already sorted it out. It's the data collect now. So which is why data is now the new oil, the new gold. That is the basis of this new avatar pish. Right? At the end of the day, it's really the creators and developers who are going to build the metaverse and make this real. Mark Zuckerberg said. He also went on to mention his expectation that hundreds of thousands of people will work to create and sustain the metaverse. But this could only happen if there is an economy to support them. Way! There we go. Blockchain, avatar, securitized, debt, hedge funds. Off you go. So Meta plans on ensuring that creators, developers, and entrepreneurs will have plenty of income opportunities, which they're going to get off your avatar. Betting on it, yeah, getting it. For participating in the metaverse, so they're going to put big money up there to grab all you IT girls and boys into this game. This includes creators who make digital objects, offer services, and experience and build entire digital worlds. Well, Joe Rogan's going to get in there, that's for sure. Alex Jones probably on his path back to getting into this new one because obviously he's sucking shit again. So you can see him picking the players. And of course, the uber god of this controlled opposition would be Mr. Trump himself. So keep that in mind, you people. So we'll leave that alone now because I'm bored. And if you like, we can get down to the self-proclaimed Rothschild. Let me just have another look at what you've said. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, virtual profit. I mean, what is that? I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll put this. It's just if you want to have a goof on at it. Where are we? Oh, we're over here. So I'll put this in for you. That's what we've just been reading. Oh, it's a bit big. There's too many in here. It won't go. I might be able to remove a lot of that code. Source, YouTube. That's a big one. Let me just. It's a hell of a URL that link. Normally you can just. I don't understand this code. It's a bit weird. Oh, here we go. So if I get rid of that, does that put us back? Yeah, it puts us back. Here we go. Here we go. It's come back up with all that. Why has it done that? Right, I can't do it, guys. I can't. Usually I can remove alt code that's garbage, but it's not letting me do it. So I can't put that link in. Sorry. Well, it will be interesting to see how they try that. Because we were all talking about this 10, 15 years ago about, they're going to shut the internet down, blah, blah, blah. No, it never happened. It never happened. Dan Andrews is a controlled double with a handler, makes you wonder if the good guys are behind the scenes. Well, okay, because obviously those two last live streams and the info in it, you can't not chew on it. And I have done nothing but chew on some of his concepts. And so, like, let's have a look at this. Oh, first, I've had an epiphany, basically, but prompted by another YouTuber. I forgot his name, Ken Wheeler, I think he's called. This guy is a very interesting mind. I mean, he's obviously an expert in the Sanskrit, transcendentalism, the Buddhist. So he knows the words, he knows the science, he knows the philosophies inside out. But he were looking at 666 and trying to redefine it. And so he went to the Greek, which sort of it's a word that's similar to excess, and the Latin is also similar. So he suggested 666 is excess. So I thought on that, and I thought, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go to the original. Let's have a look at the revelation that, and the quote in there is, moving on. Well, they keep taking stuff off my face, these buggers. Where is it? Do you know what? They took it off. How can they do that? Take my stuff off like that? It's outrageous. Let me just try again. They're always just taking it off. Yeah, they took it off. It's a good bit of git as well. Right, well, I'll put that back on after just to piss them off. But I do have it. I do have it here. So, I went to the actual text and it says, "Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So if you look at that, we've got, it's the number of the beast, but it's also a number of a man. So naturally those, man and the beast, are interconnected. So I thought, it's the beast in man. Is that not what's outpouring everywhere? Whether you're religion, it's religion pushing to outpour this beast behavior, this rising in hatred, readying for war, for all this kind of shite. Sex has become prevalent, yet less procreation because they're hitting you with all sorts of nonsense to sterilize you. So then, if we are indeed looking at when the beast in man becomes the world, then wouldn't the ruling elite have to create a system to control the beast? And wouldn't the puppets then be the uber idiots that see the world in these terms and move in that direction of the beast to become the power in this new beast system? So if that's what the ruling elites are controlling, then he's absolutely correct. We're all doing it all by ourselves because we're watching the wrong stuff. We're behaving in the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's becoming more animal, isn't it? Our thought patterns, you know, especially with this massive immigration of these real lesser, let's just say, characters. You know what I'm saying? Because that's their normal. And so that's come in because you could say the masses have moved themselves down to that level. So we're attracting, you know, or the masses are attracting to themselves what they actually are themselves. And that's why this mix is going on. Because it's pretty obvious on the earth, we're not supposed to decide who lives where. That's done at your birth, you know. That's where the universe sets out where you go. Yeah, that's because that's where you've gone. Just a thought anyway. I thought that was quite interesting. It would again simplify the metaphor that is 666. You know what I'm saying? Which is interesting. And would it then not move on to that from that those that are at that situation are more likely to go and take this shot? because they're running on fear. Yeah? What a great way. So if you look at it like that, then I know this is not going to go down very well, but it's quite joyous that those that have proved themselves unworthy to be on the earth, I've done it all myself. I mean, I don't know, but if you're taking the sort of context of what the insider's speaking, then that is definitely a thought pattern that follows on from that context, if you will. So now, as he spoke of the puppets, let's have a look at the mindset from someone claiming to be a Rothschild. And I'll just have another look down here before we get into it. I don't know about your control double, but that's interesting. What you're saying there. Well, it's not only a case of separation can be claimed. If you remember rightly, a video I did last year where it's pretty obvious that this mRNA shift, the change to your genetic code that this mRNA is giving you, is patented. So once you've took that, your physical body becomes the property of. Yeah? And you've gone in for this, so you've built an avatar already, from this consistent use of these apps everywhere. The smart televisions, everything's smart. Your car. I mean, your cars are full of it. It's got it in your pocket. Get Google out your pocket. Give yourself a chance. As he said last other week, this is all going on. It's up to you to lessen its impact. So the shit that's in the food comes from the top of the game. Lessen the amount of that you're taking in. Lessen the amount of smart tech you've got about you when you're going about your daily routine, because it's being collected. This data is being collected and it's going to determine the value of your avatar. Who's accusing somebody? Casual people. Well, do you know what? I'm getting a funny feeling that if what I've just sort of expressed is potentially a reality, then the collecting, them not worthy. But what's sick about this is, through the parents not being worthy, the children are suffering that because they're being encouraged by the sick to become sick. But that actually, I know, and it's not nice, but that's not on me. It's not on you. That's between mother and father and offspring. But, flick out of this. See what you're actually playing in and get control of your fear. That's the only thing you can do at this stage now is 67 million Shiba. I will see you. Rock and roll, mate. Rock and roll. Cheers, Ventura. Sounds like Second Life. On acid. There was a Simpson episode in this. Was there? That's interesting. You see, remember the 1992-94 Simpsons episode of Trump? And then I was shocked when I saw that video where there's a piece in that Simpsons script where he's coming down an elevator with his wife, and then I saw a real live video of him, Trump and his wife doing exactly. Even the hand movements and the turning of the heads was exact, and everybody else's movement. It's all scripted. This is an act. They're all playing to an act to fool you based on your bestiality. The beast within you is what it's that side of you that you follow. Is following this narrative. So back to what I'm saying, they could reverse all this in an instant, and all the idiots are the ones who are going to be pretty much screwed. But they will make a lot of money out of it before you actually finally pass, because like I said, they've got organs. That's what they're after. All sorts of stuff out of you before you go. Big money for more of your meds, etc., etc. So they will make a packet out of you before you're finally removed from your existence because you've proved yourself not worthy. I don't know. As I said, this is the context of the ruling insider, so called, if you go with the context of his narrative. You saw that video on Access. Yeah, interesting. Oh, so you do watch him? He's brilliant, isn't it? Somebody put it up on here. He's one of. I mean, I can't keep up with half the stuff he's saying because, like I said, you've got to really pursue the sort of Eastern sciences because there's a new language comes with it. So he's obviously gone right down that path, and he knows his stuff. I have to say. We'll say this about him. I know he doesn't think so, but he is running on fear. I can sense that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's moving him to establish his standing as he is for what's to come. If the food is described on the package in Hocus Pocus language, then one has to guess is in the food. But this is the thing, it's like he said, it's everywhere. The tools and the truth is everywhere about you. But you're not, it's what you're picking up because that's what you're acting. You know, I mean, I got into all this food stuff. Oh, God. I mean, I've never been into processed food. I'll be absolutely honest with you. No, this is an ancient study for me. So I've been on that for a long time. But if you know something's in something, you're a fool if you put it in your gob. And the answer that you should have people, well, what are we supposed to eat then? And it's like, oh my God. Really? Really? You're a grown man and you're saying that? You know? You're not a grown man, are you? You're still a child needing mummy and teacher to tell you what to do. So it is all around you, and it is up to you how you approach this. Because when you know about something, you'd be foolish to keep doing it, wouldn't you? But as I've said before, your body's extremely expert at getting rid of shit. That's what it is. It's like a filter, isn't it? It's consistently getting rid of the shit that's created by living here. And the biggest creator of toxins in your body is your body converting oxygen. So your body is constantly getting rid of all the shit. Every time you think, every time you move, acid is created. Your body has to keep itself balanced to the alkali because it's naturally alkali. But yet everything we're doing, thinking, moving, is creating acidic amino acids, which have to be balanced. So if you clog your system up with meds, all the shit in the food, how in the hell can your body filter correctly? It cannot do its job. That's when you start to have problems. But if you limit what you put in, you're going to be okay. Your body can cope with that, And if you get ill, then look at what it is that's happening and then attack it that way, rather than running off to murderers in white coats. I have put some information together in a 650 Facebook. Would you be interested in reviewing it for me? If so, would you need email? If this is in PDF, it's called Do We Live in Simulation? I'd be very happy to receive that, my friend. I'll put me email there. It'll be for you. Right, there we go, mate. That's my email. Yeah, send it away. I mean, if it's good, and I'll publish it on website if you want. It's entirely up to you. But then, of course, no. Well, if it's good, maybe I can advertise it for you on the website. How about that? You don't really want to put it up there for everybody to know. You want to make a book, some cash. So, yeah, send it to me, and then we'll open communication on that. That's a good idea. English language is the language of the dark forces. This is one of the hidden reasons why most countries are now requiring English as a second language. Well, it's because it's so vast in its ability to describe things, and then obviously the downside of that is it's also then perfect for all the wizardry that we are all fully aware is going on everywhere. So yeah, absolutely. In the English language, as it is the ability to give the wizardry. Yeah, I will agree with that. But it's done. It's a done deal. It's already done. The most powerful thing in the universe is energy. When you learn how to control and direct energy, you can become one of the most powerful people on earth. Yeah, I would go with that. Well, I mean, we're not talking about nuclear bomb power, or we're not talking about blowing people up. We're talking about the ability to make things happen. But you see, what I've learned is you can move about in the mundane and achieve, bits of success for yourself, etc. But if you want to move things on the earth, you can only do that when you've got the. He uses the term divine. I've always used heavenly forces. When they're behind you, what you're doing is not mundane anymore. But obviously, what you're doing has to be in sync with the will. You can't just go off doing your own bloody thing and expect to have that backing. It's not the case. That's the core of what he's telling you. And I know that that's correct because that's what I had to do years ago to get me in the point where I were before I jumped off it because I were driving myself insane. It's full on intelligence program. Of course it is. Yeah, everything is intelligence because that's what's running it. The intelligent fruit bats. The ones that use your intelligence for their own ends, not and like you've got the strong bully and the weak, where the balance order of the day is if you're strong, help the weak, not fleece them for everything. So you can understand where the ruler's saying ruling bloodline's going on about the puppets because they're all that and more. Yeah. These Ayushans they call junk contains keys to unlocking memories of our true history. Yeah, but I don't think people understand genetics properly. If you watch the film Gladiator and you've got Roman genes in your genetic makeup, they will be activated just by watching it. Don't you get how this works? This is how television works. This is how books work. This is how art works. It activates latent shut down memories in your genetics. That's what it does. All these films. So if you're watching all these, like I were obsessed with war films, it's just activating all those experiences that my bloodlines had since it started. Yeah, and that's so they're giving you Rome, they'll give you Sparta. These are recent, these are our era memories. Yeah? Do you know what I'm saying? I do like that insider. It's given me an all new, a new grammar in order to explain things. It's good. I like it. It's been a great thing for me, that two videos. So I'm well happy. Parens patria means parent of the nation. This term refers to the power of the state to act as parent to a child. Yeah, because you're no longer mother and father. And the biblical script comes down father, mother, offspring. So it's father, father, mother, offspring. That's the format as it's set down here. So when you go off that, that's what you're going off, the divine setup. And today you're not going to get that through to the men with vaginas because they're just off being men. They want to be the superheroes now. Well, there's nothing wrong with women doing what they want, females. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, where I look at it, all you're picking up off the males is all this shit, the bad traits. Probably because you were focused to them growing up. I hate that, grinded on you. But, well, that's exactly what you've become. In fact, you're even worse. You know what I'm saying? But I have to say, I've watched some of these girl footballers. My God. It's like ballet. They make us fellas look like cavemen booting rocks. Well, anyway. Racism. This is racism. But even if you go to World Dictionary and look up the word race, it does not mean what you think it meant. It means a particular kind of animal. Interesting. Danielle, there is no hope for the masses, only salvation for the individual. Very long. Well, that's true. The masses have gone insane collectively because they're following each other. It's what they do. It's what I mean. Growing up at school, I were always just that little bit out there. I had my clan of friends, and they were all nuts. They were all completely nutcases because I fit in better with nutcase. You know what I'm saying? Because I weren't normal. And they all your little groups, and you set it all up, don't they? This house against that house, this girl, blah blah blah. It's been programmed into us, that kind of stuff. Regarding the shot, the bug, vowel would be interchangeable outside of Ivrit. C would be chet, V bet, and B are interchangeable. Same letter, recognize it. Check 19 in gematria. Well, doesn't 19 in the Hebrew? It's I forgot. I can't remember. But 19 in the Hebrew has a serious, apt definition. I can't remember it offhand. I have no idea who Barry Long is. No. So you sent me to a bit. Okay, a nice one, detective. I will look at that. But well, if I look at it now, we're not going to get into this this other bit. You know what I'm saying? And I've already waffled on for how long? How long? An hour. I've waffled on for an hour, and we haven't even touched Rothschild yet. Oh my god. Oh well. I said you okay. Tell a lie that yeah, the illusion comes from the illusion of consciousness. Right. To another one. Let's go. Okay. So it's on the same GLP, Godlike Productions, and it's 28th of the 10th, 2011. Now, from where this starts, it doesn't look like it's the beginning of the thread. But we don't even need to read all of this, to be honest. So what I'll do now, I'll put this URL in this for you, so you can follow it as we go. Excuse me. Right, so there's the URL to this document. There we go. So it's set. So this is Rothschild speaking. It's a bit higgledy-piggledy, to be honest, so it might get a bit confusing, but it didn't take me long to see the absolute difference between the data in the last two and this mind, if you get me. So he says, yes, I am of that evil banking clan, but a black sheep in wolf's claws. Even if the stupid amongst you want the truth, you are too uneducated to know what to even ask. What say you, brain trust and learned of GLP? So somebody's asked him a question. I'll ask the right question then. Where did all our money go? He says, money, money. There ain't no stinking money. There's only power, an illusion. Das called the reality you are experiencing the beautiful lie. I don't know who Das is. Question. Is it true you are cannibals? He says, energy cannibals, soul suckers. Yeah. Do you know why the Earthetians love meat? It's the taste of pain. Yum. As Sir Mickey Jagger observed, I shouted out who killed the Kennedys, when after all, it was you and me. Well, Mick Jagger's a high-level player, and he was connected to Tuesday Weld back in the 50s, she was on the path to being a Marilyn Monroe character, but obviously she was a bit more together. She did one movie, and I think there was one song she did, and I've listened to it back in the day when I had contacts in Hollywood. And this girl was talent, but she chose not to go on the public and become a priestess, and then onto goddess in the occult. And for that, she had, according to my source, okay, her initiation to join that path was to kill rock and roll, and that was the killing of Buddy Holly. Is it Buddy Rich and Mickey Valance? Are those the three? I can't remember. So that was her task in order she could enter this path. And Mick Jagger was one of her closest. And apparently American Pie by Don McLean is all about when he found out what she'd done and that he couldn't be with her anymore. Bye bye, Miss American Pie, because she was absolutely Marilyn Monroe type gorgeous. Okay, maybe still is, because I think she's still alive. So that's who Mick Jagger is. The Queen, as his guitarist calls him. Question: is you Abraham Lincoln Rothschild? I knows you, Mama. He says, "Ha ha! We have no mothers. The chosen are disabused of the notion of a nurturing other who sacrifices all for their innocent being. Teach your children the ways of nature. They will learn one way or another anyway. You're going to finish them fries," is the question. He says, "No, thank you. Go right ahead." Question: you can spell you name right. What? He says, "I thought it amusing. GLP has several misspelled memes. Moron for one. I thought to myself, self, let's do the ghetto style. And yes, I did hear it from my uncle. Laugh out loud." So he's basically saying his uncle is who? Anyway. Right, question. Dagobert is to return. That's one prophecy. I really hope happens. Finally get rid of all you sorry asses. He says, "We aren't the problem, you are. No one forces you into your routine. You choose. Just remember one thing above all. Wherever you are, whatever you do, you are here because of your choices and beliefs. We are just the gatekeepers. One other thing, if you know what it tasted like, you would take the deal as well." The deal. Yeah. The other one, the insider, he never talked about any deals, did he? Apart from referring to some particular person who had sold his soul. Okay. So here again, you can start to see that although he's acting in the same manner with he speak, that it's all your fault, which is correct. He's still, in my mind, he's a lesser. So he'll take up the deal, as it were. So Rothschild, it says the question. Or how about the power of illusion? I remember some glyphs from a book I read about Egypt. They painted their visions with lots of detail and colours, but the picture of an ordinary tree and background was all blurry. This is the illusion. It's inside, but the truth is all around us. Unfortunately, at this time, my vision is terrible, so I'm no good to anybody. He says, you create your own reality, but you are highly suggestible. Highly. Childish in so many ways, and you adults and more children are just children who never grew up to reality, all busy telling each other the beautiful lie. Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. Question. I remember some glyphs from a book I read about Egypt. They painted their visions with lots of detail and colours, but the picture of an ordinary tree. Oh no! So he's. Do you know it does my head in when they quote? It makes it hard work to make sense of these things, right? So this questioner has quoted Rothschild's and Rothschild's answer, or they've actually put a video up. So we can't really go into that. It says, all and lies just never fit with anything, even other lies. He says, more along the lines of wishful thinking. Ask your average worker drone what they would do if tomorrow morning they won the lottery and received $1 bajillion. Now study the answers and see what I mean. Illusions upon illusions. Stupid little children under the care of the shepherd. Question, no one forces you into your routines, you choose. He says, who wrote your script? Who are you acting for? Laugh out loud. Why did he do that? It's bollocks. I don't know what's wrong with Harvey, doctor. He's not acting normal. So somebody quotes his answer as we're just gatekeepers, and then adds, I'm going to pick the lock. He says, give it your best effort, Mr. Anonymous Coward. That is the essential human quality which prevents total ruin. However, it is completely misplaced without the tools necessary and taken for granted to the experienced locksmith. Obtain the proper tools and you would be considered a serious threat. Yeah. So then somebody's quoting the question Dagobert is to return with the addition, let me guess, sweet as honey in your mouth. You don't know shit, Mr. Gatekeeper. He says, honey is such a pedestrian concept, but perfectly relevant to our little discussion. No adult thinks twice about letting the honeybee toil and labour all summer collecting the pollen, and in the autumn, the hooded beekeeper comes and takes the whole fucking honeycomb. Which of you morons for the honeybee? Which of you thinks twice about the theft of labour which has occurred? I think it's called working in harmony, Mr. Rothschild. My personal opinion. He carries on. Zoom out, Google Earth style, and look at the macro picture. You are the drone bees, and you are harvested of your energy and labour at regular intervals, just like our friends, the honeybee. Is there a difference? Is there a difference? I think it's supposed to say morality-wise. Well, of course there is. Doesn't the Holy Father demarcate the earth and the animals that are in it and man? So now that's interesting because he's showing me here that he sees the rest of mankind, which of course he's part of because according to the other guy, he's a puppet bloodlines. So this is where the hubris is coming in that sense because this guy clearly looks at everybody beneath him as somewhat to be which is the way this world works anyway. Everybody's capitalising anybody. It's the way it goes. And to some point, it's accepted, isn't it? Let's be honest. Not all poor men want to be super wealthy. Because if they were, they'd lose it all anyway. Because, as he said, they wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. Is there a difference morality-wise? Is our theft... Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Is it greater than yours? Because you have an intermediary and buy your honey from the middleman. Is there any difference? You American drones, has your life not been made easier by harvesting the sweat and tears of your Chinese brothers? Well, it's not the American people, is it? That's the American corporations that he's a part of and controls. So that's nonsense. So you can see this guy's a totally lesser mind. In fact, he's a complete tit. Because he's pretty much saying that it was the American people that decided to shift the industry over to China. Garbage. It was his clan and those like them. So can you see the difference in this guy? He's a totally lesser tosser, albeit educated. He adds, and whenever there are inequities, we are there getting our cut. Now that's another interesting concept. I don't know whether you guys are aware of a guy called E. Michael Jones. I mean, he's a Catholic. I mean, and that's it basically. But the guy had some seriously pertinent points in relation to him understanding what's going on. Now, obviously, being a staunch Catholic, he sees one enemy, and that would be our fellow Jews. Yeah. So that's his complete program. So you can recognise that in him, and so you can sort of lessen the aggression you might have towards him. But he did put it in this way. I'm not going to use the term Jews because it is not just Jews doing this. You know what I'm saying? We have to get out of this full-on labelling of. But he basically put it in this format that as we move down the divinity path, it opens the path in for the evil. So yeah, I'd go with that, as he said. And whenever there are inequities, we are there getting our cut. So they have a role to play, don't they? You know what I mean, as well. So there we are. Right. So the question is quoting the bit where he says, "You create your own reality," and adds, "Some people know they are living lies, being part of a network that has been very good to them, as they perceive what is good, and they have a great deal invested in the lie. These are the handlers, controllers, and manipulators who stand to lose a great deal from their point of view, should the lies be made for what they are. These are enemies. They are legion. From their view, the system has done well by them, and why not keep those under the thumb in a cage of lies? These then become, by their greed choices, the dark souls following the dark paths. The ice they put out becomes their ice, their bright lights diminish, and until in the one life, the light in the heart shines out no more. they become hideous and putrid, both outward and inward, until all who gaze upon them find them revolting. In the end, all these have is their will, a cold determination without conscience, without remorse, without love, and illusions upon illusions, in short, by creating their identity that relates to any fiction or delusion, makes them and the delusion as one. The question is, are you one of them? If you are one of them, even if you're a snake slave. Anyway, and that's from Yacht. Who's that from? I'm not quite sure. Or quoting Yolgnu, whoever that is. So he says, yes, actually, that was quite a good paragraph. Yes, one will catch more flies with honey than feces. Construct the cages with some creature comforts, and they will lock themselves in. And then advance that. Rather than a literal Garden of Eden, the planet is a scary place. Who doesn't want someone else to assure their safety? And so on. And again, somebody is quoting his "We are just gatekeepers" bit and adds, if you think I am anonymous, get your eyes checked and look harder. I wonder what is in my toolbox. And he answers, yes, Mr. Eyes. What is in your toolbox? Do you have anything in your toolbox? Name one thing you have going for you, toolbox or not. So somebody quotes, you'll create your own reality, but you're highly suggestible, highly. And adds, more along the lines of wishful thinking. Ask your average worker drone what they would do if tomorrow morning. No, and it's correct. Sorry, it's carrying on quoting. Then he adds, if I want it, I would use it to bring down you bastards, every last penny of it. And this light feather, whoever that is. He says, interesting. What would your very first move be? Let me guess. A new car and a new house. Oh, this is in relation to winning the lottery. He says, interesting. What would your very first move be? Let me guess. A new car and a new house. Drawing the noose tighter before even giving it a thought. Laugh out loud. The irony is that you are best able to affect the changes you espouse now as a slave, since you truly have so little to lose. Now, I do understand that, because I think the reason I got so far back in the day was because I had nothing. You couldn't sue me because I had no. You know what I'm saying? To be fair, maybe being a bit naive, perhaps some of the stuff I actually wrote back in the day could have been classed as rather dubious, but nevertheless, there is a bit of truth in that. The less you have, the less they can have. So you don't want to own anything, do you? But you want to control all the assets that you have at your disposal. The irony is that you are at best able to affect the change rates. Seriously, what is stopping you from acting now instead of when you receive your bajillion-dollar payout? Laugh out loud. Right, so somebody's quoting the "Give you your best effort, Mr. Anonymous Coward." And then adds, how about I show you in time? He says, glacial time, probably. Contrary to common perception and urban myth, we are not immortal. Please don't keep me waiting too long, Mr. Whomever you are. So then somebody quotes, we are not the problem, you are. And adds, yeah, keep on laughing. In the end, all matter returns to its original place. I wonder where yours is. Obviously, the fruit bat. He says, wherever did you get the idea that all matter returns to its original place? Where have you learned that in nature? By the way, no apostrophe in its. It is possessive. So somebody quotes, Rothschild is going down. He says, oh yes, sure. What proof offer you for this silly notion? Again, an example of childish thinking, making statements with no basis for support. My dad can pummel your dad. Speaking of going down, how are your kids' educations coming along? What relationships do you enjoy with your kids? What do they spend their time doing? What is their future? The only way we go down is if you wake up, and that isn't ever going to happen. Look at the stupid comments on here, and so far not one intelligent question. You can learn because as a man of honour, I will answer truthfully. But alas, as one once stated, The truth, you can't handle the truth. All right. Well, somebody quotes more along the lines of wishful thinking, ask your average worker drone. So he's quoting him for answering that. And then he adds, one hint, Wall Street. That would just be the beginning. So he answers, wasn't the hacker group Anonymous supposed to bring down the New York Stock Exchange last week? Weren't lots of people supposed to do lots of things that never happened? Well, I've just been looking at the guy that set that up. He's a proper tosser. If I can pick the picture out, we'll do something with it sometime. Proper numpty. You don't understand the New York Stock Exchange any more than you understand money. How can you bring down something you don't understand? Laugh out loud. So my guess is this guy that says he's going to take him down is obviously an hacker of some description. And then he says, read Sun Tzu for a beginner's course, then ponder on the fact that you are taking on forces with experience measured in millennia. And he's absolutely right at that. To 20 steps ahead of most people. I mean, even me, they're way ahead of me, but I'm very good at unplugging some of their little embroidery. I am good at that. So I'm looking forward to getting into a bit of that actually down the line because I haven't done it for a while. Somebody quotes, yes, Mr. Eyes, what is in your toolbox? So he's quoting him asking that. And then adds, if you're smart enough to figure out what my spirit is, then maybe you'll realize that your last comment was misguided. And he puts that out with capital letters for each word on the beginning. So I don't know what that's about. He's obviously getting cross. So the Rothschild says, wasn't the Bickle character a crazed cab driver who shot up some slum neighbours? Is that your role model? Take out a few of your neighbours to get back at the system which oppresses you. Sorry, you need a new plan. So then he quotes more along the lines of wishful thinking, I should have his work again. And somebody adds, for moi, I will burn the money on my altar, OP lol, and convert the energy of it to something else. I am a strange human. Yes, I would agree with that. He says, alter just implies trading one deity illusion for another, when the real power lies within. I'm sick of this laugh out loud. How pathetic are these numpties? This must be a bit of a young Rothschild if he is, and he's not very bright, I have to say. But he's showing us his character, which that's what we're about. So well done, Mr. Rothschild. A question is, can you lend me $1 trillion, please? I promise to pay it back. P.S. $1 million will do also, or also do. He says, surely you jest. We never want you to pay it back, be it a pound or a penny. The magic is in the interest. Magic, I tell you, interest. Borrow all the sweet, sweet candy you want, children. Pay me only the bright copper or two. Lovely children. It would cost me exactly the same to lend or give you the €1 trillion, and note that you, a well-trained child, were polite enough to ask me to lend you something which has no value. Wonderful training. Think of young children and their instinctive knowledge of mind. They grab things, claim things, and they don't want to share. Greedy, selfish child, you will share. Betrayed by their own parents. I mean, we're laughing, but because they're laughing. These people laugh at the masses. They laugh their tits off all the time at what they get to do. And honestly, them ridiculous onesies with the tails on and I mean, there were a group of guys. I mean, they probably didn't stop laughing for a week because it made me laugh every time I thought about it. But grown men, males, females, were wearing these to take their children to school. Yeah, so I'd agree everything he said there. Betrayed by your own parents. So I don't know what this is. Is this a quote? So somebody's quoted somebody called like this. He says, and I see you did not reply to MI Sticks. I know you know of the genetic memory passed down from our ancestors. You know there are thousands, could be more, who knows? And he says, yes, Lightfeather, I was temporarily stunned by your revelation. Please don't hurt us. Somebody quotes Roths is trolling. I only got one question for you, buddy. Why the fuck am I not purple? He says, You can become purple. Eat more beets, perhaps. Michael Jackson, an American entertainer, decided to change his skin from black to something approaching white. I never did understand that. So becoming purple isn't out of the question if that's your dream. I know there is also orange spray tan solution. Can you compromise on orange? Are you flexible on the colour? Oh, man. So somebody says, how come you're sharing your time with us today? He says, it's a harvest of sorts, I suppose. Why does a small child poke a box turtle? Why does a small child study an anthill intently and then smash it under his heel? That universal unknown. Does it make you feel superior? Not really. A freak show? No. Perhaps there is a part of me that hopes for the growth of others. Perhaps I feel a duty to remain open to helping others I deem worthy. As a matter of honour, I will not lie. As a matter of practicality, I will not play Socrates. Come up with your own intellect and stretch your thinking. Thank you for your question. So somebody then quotes his answer to what would your move be if you won lottery. And then he adds, no, sorry. So then he says, brothers sometimes outgrow brothers. Close the door when the winter winds blow cold. That's true. And then somebody quotes there, how come you're sharing your time with us today? And then adds, what types of spirituality does your family respect? And he says, spirituality is a human construct, and like all, so he doesn't think he's human. So is he of the mind that he's man? Yeah. It would appear so. Please excuse me if I have a cigarette. I can feel the nicotine requiring more attention. It is a spiritual force that turns a windmill. A child might think so until the mechanics of the asymmetrical earth heating, which makes the wind blow, are well understood. A windmill turns and energy is harvested, a scientific explanation for a mystical phenomenon. Well, that's very true, isn't it? It's always mystical until you understand the mechanic. Yeah, very interesting. It's like when you don't understand what black magic is. You're more afraid because you can't answer what's coming against you. But once you understand it's just men connecting with dark entities and having them do things against you, it's not magic then, is it? It's still magic if you've not come to an understanding that there's an unseen world. But when you've grasped that, then you can understand. Same with people that send blessings, the same. But instead of it being dark energies, I mean, I did a job in St Anne's in near Blackpool, and what it was a nun's dormitory. It was a nunnery, and it had been so for a long, long time. And we'd gone in there to convert it into a dance club, and I don't mean a nightclub for kids to learn dancing. And the nuns used to come a lot to see how it was going on. And this one nun in particular, I think she was quite an IO one. And so I had a good chat with her. And every time she came, we'd have a chat. She was a lovely woman. And anyway, she offered me a blessing. And I received it that evening. Yeah. So that's what, if you don't understand that mechanic, it's magic and a mystery. But it's not a mystery at all. So it works both ways. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, where are you lot? Let's have a look. Is it any good, this? Are we having it? Or are we a bit pissed off with it? Because it's only going to be the same kind of nonsense. He's being a bit naughty with him, innit? Whereas to the guy, we're really seriously wanting to give you something of worth, even though he spent a lot of time telling him it weren't his job to do that. Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. Yes, exactly. You got that right on the head there, Echo. I don't know. Older, you baby boomers might remember Tuesday Weld. But my God, what some interesting stuff I got from my Hollywood contacts back then, who were all into it. Was just all occult with them. And I gave them a lot of pointers on Wizard of Oz and these films in relation to the occult symbolism from it. Because back then I was still full of this, everything I'd learned in the mystery school, And so I actually had a lot of contacts in Hollywood in that sense. I know their obsession were undoing the occult of film, and so I helped them out quite a lot. They were interesting times. Nearly every comedian is a tour rag, naturally funny. Well, do you guys know a guy called Owen Benjamin? He's nowhere to be found now on YouTube or anything like that. I don't know whether he's still going with Vox Day, but that guy, in my opinion, is an amazing comedian. He made me laugh my ass off. That guy was funny. Even when he weren't being funny, he was funny. But one thing that he's a smart cookie, and he traversed Hollywood as a comedian. He was on his way up, but then drew the line. But obviously you can tell that as he was rising that path, he was taking note. He was comprehending. He was seeing the game. And what he outed about current Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, profound stuff, and you got a proper insight into how these idiots really are. They're like little children, but obviously obsessed with all things carnal. I mean, I'll not say anything in relation to that. You might be, you probably won't. I think all this stuff got took down. But I learned a lot about Hollywood from a guy called Owen Benjamin. Very clever guy. In fact, he got tapped in with that idiot, that racist what's he called? Rebel News guy, Tommy Robinson. And then Tommy dropped him because he was going to come over. And Tommy got told off the Israeli lobby that backed him. You can't have him here because he's anti-Israel. So that were another interesting. So you may know him from that. I don't know. But I don't think he's doing anything at all because he disappeared. Can I have a bag of what this fella is smoking? Is that Steve Barnes? I'm smoking. I smoke Pueblo. You can also smoke American Spirit. Both of which have absolutely nothing added when they're being grown and nothing added when they're being processed to your pouch. The downside is it's dry because there's no chemistry in it to keep it wet. So you've got to be extra careful with the pouch that you're not hammering it, putting it in your pocket, etc. Because otherwise you'll end up with half of it as dust. But if you carefully deal with the packet, it's amazing. It's that strong. You'll have a fag and you don't need one for a good while. Whereas if I have an unbelief off anybody, I want another immediately. And it's disgusting. So Pueblo is what I smoke. So if you want some of what I'm smoking, geezer, bit of Pueblo there in it. Pueblo. Gio watches a whiskey. Anyone got Scooby-Doo? What this fella's on about? If you don't know what I'm on about, Steve, fuck off. We don't care. We're not interested in you coming here. Just go away. Straight jacket required. Oh dear. Who wants to mod? Does somebody want to mod so we can get rid of these tits? Ray, are you here? Ray, do you want to do a mod? How do I do modding? How do I do create a poll? I better not do this now because if I get cracking on here, I might kill it. I'll start messing about. I don't know how to do modding. We're going to have to work out, Ray, how to make you a mod because this tosser. So how do I get rid of this tit? Anyway. Where are you from, Boyne, is it? Can always meet up if you want. Tell me all about it. Big Al. Who's Big Al? No, don't take him on. Let him piss on his own chips. I don't know how to get rid of it. I'm going to have to learn that because we don't want idiots like that, do we? Carbolion. Yeah. That takes me back. Who's your Hollywood contacts? Well, I certainly can't divulge them, can I? Because I might want to talk to them again. I still have their emails. There are quite a few of them, actually. Click the three dots to the right of the person's comment. Okay. Oh, right, Ray. I've bagged it. Do you want to be a moderator, Ray? I can't just do it. You need to. Right. Ray, are you out there? Well, we've timed him out. We'll give him a break. Let's see if he wants to come back and be nice. Where's Ray gone? So, Ray, you don't think he's a Rothschild? Just taking the piss. Right, Ray, do you want to be a moderator? Right, you're a moderator. Ray. So, you can deal with this twat when he starts being. Why have you not come up as a moderator? Should be showing you as a moderator. Oh no, you are a moderator. Right, so, yeah, there you go. You're blue. Anybody else want a mod? Anybody else? Well, while we're at it, because I'm pure. Do you have to set this every time, or is once you set it, is it done? So if he gets cocky, just get rid of him. Just block him. Right, nobody else wants to play out. Okay, no problem. So are we enjoying this gig or what? Because Jace Ventura, you too late. You've done it. You're now a mod. Right, you're done. Anybody else? Oh, what does that mean? Oh, Detective UK. Right, bang. You are one as well. Sweet. Just keep the numpties off because I do believe if you get psychos on your comments, it can it can have an effect on your channel. I believe. Right. Oh, fair enough. I've learned something. Do you want to go back to this thing then, or what? Are we going back? Oh, okay, it's good. You sent it. All right, Echo 59. Cheers, Paul. Nice one. Okay, where? So somebody quotes, it's a harvest of sorts, I suppose, down to windmills turns, and he's harvested, etc. So he says, so he adds, do Rothschilds only reincarnate into your own bloodline? What are your views on reincarnation? He says, reincarnation is growth, which has been packaged and stripped of its meaning by so-called New Agers. Purity of bloodlines is the essence of history. Most of the first world nations have been weakened by dilution of the bloodlines under the banner of cultural diversity. Oh yeah, and we know that that family did a lot of it. Any old trick, but highly effective. An old trick, rather. He says the movie Dr. Strangelove put out the POE, purity of essence meme, but people laugh it off as the ravings of a madman. Check out how Israel handles the issue of bloodlines with the country, but they too are failing, which is a repeat of what the insider said. You might be right. This could be a bit of a piss take, actually. Somebody asked a question: have you been to another planet? He answers, the question presupposes that there are other planets. Is the sun's the main light and the moon's the lesser light, I believe. Is that correct? Somebody quotes, can you lend me $1 trillion? And then adds, I have my fingers crossed behind my back when I promised to pay it back. He answers, trickster, harlequin, joker. It is sadly true that only the wealthy can afford absolute honesty. The loss of freedom begins in earnest when people are forced to tell lies to fit within a society, necessary to maintain the beautiful lie. Only the truly powerful tell the truth, because due to their position, there can be no repercussions. somebody quotes, "Do Rothschilds only reincarnate?" And then the answer he gave. So he adds, "What makes a bloodline pure? What are the most valued bloodlines and why?" He says, "There is noise in every bloodline. The real question is how the patriarchs deal with the noise." Remember that suspension bridge in Oregon, USA, Tacoma Narrows, I believe. So that would be Washington, USA then. Any matter at resonant frequency reduced to it to rubble as engineers watched. They were unable to suppress the self-feedback loop that the whole thing came apart. Watch the video, I've seen that. Consider the same forces genetically. DNA bloodlines need to be pruned and tended for a long haul. And that's what the other guy said. No way around that, but tell that to your average person. So somebody quotes, "How come you are sharing your time with us today?" And his answer, which is it's part of his protocol. And then he says, "It's protocol, by the way. Doesn't your computer highlight spelling errors? Do you care how you appear to others?" And then somebody quotes, "Who runs the world? Vatican, Jesuits, Knights of Malta, Council of Three, Black Nobility families, Masons, Baphomet, Moloch." And adds, "Is it a combination of the 300? And then also, "There has got to be more than just a committee of 300. Let's see if OP will enlighten us with the answer of the true power behind the scenes." And he answers, "Who runs the world? Well, you do, of course. Whenever I travel, I see a lot of yous out there busy running the world. And I also see that you run the world based on your precepts of how things work and such. Little algorithms constantly operating in the background. Where on earth did they come from?" Laughing, laughing, laughing out loud. And of course, being children, things go wrong when bad or selfish decisions are made. Bogeymen are thus created to absorb the blame. Deep, dark, evil forces that make things go bump in the night. They are the reason for all this trouble. Bad, bad men. I suppose another way to put it that you might understand better is that the world is run by men who truly understand the dark nature of the human spirit. So you provide the evil, and these men create the scenarios where they know you will react. It is scary how accurately refined these rule-based systems have become. Ironically, these men of knowledge must keep their hands clean, must, or the magic goes. Now, that's absolutely correct. And like I've said before, they understand how spiritual law works. And if they were to carry out this stuff, as opposed to set it up and whisper it into your ear, then they get the kickback. But because they're only the whisperers, you are the people that put it into action. Where does the karma go? Yeah, and I've said this a few times in various videos. He says, "Believe me when I say that the efforts to suppress come from immediately above your station. Those who have a few extra comforts that you don't, and that want to maintain your submission so that they can maintain theirs. Their real masters are the intellects who suggest in a suggestible way that which you cannot resist." Absolutely. Did you know that the US porn industry is larger than the Hollywood box office? Well over 10 billion. But ask anyone if they watch porn and you will likely be told that's what the other guy said. It looks to me like somebody's is taking the piss here and have mishmashed. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that the insider said, and it's verbatim. So it's a copy and paste job, I would suggest, to make it look a bit more. Who is the evil dark force here? The entity who understands human lust and provides for it. The consumer of the lust. Would the porn industry exist if its services were not in demand? Would it not in tomorrow if people chose not to watch porn? Of course, so pick your evil. This is verbatim what the insider said. Of course, the secrets have made more than one bloodline powerful beyond belief, and there are struggles. Ultimately, one will win out, so that's interesting. Somebody quotes, "How much Tesla technology do you have hidden away? What is the newest secret tech invention or breakthrough?" He answers, "Hidden in plain sight. There is a wealth of information available on Tesla techniques. Ironically, if you take the time to read them, very, very few, almost none. And Tesla's paid, well, I have, but I couldn't understand some of his concepts because I didn't have the language, the science language. Almost none. And Tesla's patents lay out a great starting point, but like your great aunt leaving a key ingredient out of her prize cake recipe, some work must be done. Tesla was the real genius, not." It's fucking verbatim. And we know that Tesla was a genius. Einstein was a tosser that kept the pseudo-science alive with gravity, etc., continuing the work of, well, Edison were around, but there were also Isaac Newton. Tesla had the keys to the kingdom within his reach. It was thus necessary to change the lock. Well, the insider said that was given the keys, but gave it to the wrong people, and it flopped. So, somebody's quoted, "Are you cooking fried chicken tonight, though?" And he said, "I believe one of the great inventions of the 20th century was to grind up the chicken parts and compress them into small nuggets, submerge those nuggets in boiling grease, and then serve those hot nuggets with an artificially flavored, high fructose laden syrup to make them edible." What a concept. I would even have the nerve to propose such a thing. I wouldn't even have the nerve to propose such a thing. Let them eat entrails. That's McDonald's, by the way. Somebody quotes how much Tesla technology do you have? And he adds, very interesting. Thanks for the answer and the ideas it will generate. He answers, Tesla's patent attorney conducted a 3-day deposition in conjunction with a patent he filed on wireless energy transmission. The attorney was concerned that the patent language was insufficient to capture the genius and potential of Tesla's ideas. Read that if you want some thinking material. I have a scan of the original. True genius. This is a scan of the original contains some margin notes on Tesla's land. In Tesla's land, consider it one of the great works of the era. A true genius. Somebody quotes, "Who runs the world?" Well, you do, of course. So that's his answer, isn't it? And then it adds, what happens when the moral man with a just cause has enough resources to change the collective mind? Will your family be willing to pass the torch? He says, dear sir, reflect on your so-called morality. From where it springs and by what definitions and rules does it function? What does it add to your arsenal? I dare say your delusions are rampant and your way is muddled. There is nothing presently stopping you from joining the ranks of the nobility except your inability to grow. I, for one, welcome the enlightened and engaged. But as children can play store and pretend, it does not make them a Fortune 500 corporation, no matter how they might desire to be. Somebody quotes, hidden in plain sight, which is his answer. And adds, email me the scan at change, blah, blah, blah. Is it part of your destiny? He answers, such a compelling offer. How could one resist? And then again, somebody quotes the hidden in plain sight bit and adds, for now and forever. Oh, well, obviously, somebody's added, reptoids didn't hijack this country, they invented it. From the beginning and for thousands of years, everything we know as reality is something given to us by a reptoid. There's your Ikers. And he answers, for now and forever. It's a bit, I don't know what to think of this, to be honest. I probably should have read it all, though, but it's not giving me what I thought I were achieving at the beginning, which was a distinct grasp on the difference of characters between what we've watched and what we did the last couple of weeks in this one. So I'm not so sure we're going to gain anything from this, to be frank, by carrying on. What say ye, chaps? Right, so leave Steve Boyd to it. He's showing himself. Where's Jace? You're already a moderator, Jace. Now you're done. Once he's done, you're going then. Here we go. More red. 83 we left. Here's a spider. Beneficiary. Also, you're local, are you, Mr. Beneficiary? You fellas commenting from Accrington. East on Yorkshire. Are you from Ackett? Go on, lad. No, Ray's is traitor. He's run off. Mind you, it's not surprising. Have you seen the state of this shit all? It's an absolute abomination. Yeah, oh yeah, Godlike Productions is garbage anyway, we know that. But they did actually back in the day, I don't know where this will go, and put out some pretty good stuff. And they used to put a lot of my stuff on the thing as well. So I have to give them, but that's the people on the forums, isn't it? It's not necessarily Godlike Productions. But yeah, of course, so many of them platforms were set up to get you what you were finding. You know, it's all been about collecting data. And what better way to get that together than get you to do it for them? It's the way they work because they're smart and they have the tools and the capacity to do these things. You know, anybody can do it. But you've got to have the tools to do it. So you'd have to first get the tools together, and then get stuck in that way. Maybe I need to start looking at stuff like that one day instead of just keep tossing about. Yeah, that ain't no Rothschild. I don't think we need to continue with that, guys. I think it's a load of shit, to be honest. So, but I did waffle on for an hour first anyway, for an hour. So we haven't really wasted much time with it, but I don't think we'll revisit that. I think it's shit, to be fair. Right, anybody got any questions? Because we're nearly up to 2 hours. Well, Tommy Robinson got co-opted by the Israel lobby because the Israel lobby wants to create the anger between the Muslims and the natives. Because in general terms, you know, through these years they've been here, although they don't mix, we've actually got on quite well. Do you know what I mean? It's not been too bad. I mean, I have a lot of Muslim friends, and you know, some of them I will call them my friends properly. But they have their problems, like we have our problems. You know what I'm saying? But they're sucking into this nonsense. And these immigrants that are being poured in, I'm telling you now, they're soldiers. I've seen them. I'm watching them. And they're the ones that are going to be activated to start causing all this hassle, all these. But you could go like Paris if they kick it off. And they're the ones that are going to drag in the English-born Muslims. That's what's going on here. But then that's on them. If they get dragged into it, that is on them. Let's bear in mind what the overall agenda is here, and that's to have the Zionists and Islam annihilate each other. The problem with that is it's not just then Jews and Muslims, because they've dragged Christians into it as Christian Zionists. That's the entire Protestant and evangelical realm. So there's your Jehovah's Witnesses, your Mormons, your Seventh-day Adventists, all this myriad of nonsense. Not to say there's not decent, intelligent people in there, but they're not that intelligent if they're going along with that script. And bear in mind as well, these are the cults that have been put in full control of the entire food bank system. And I wrote this 10, 8 years ago, whatever, that the end game with the food banks is you will have to sign an intervention order and you'll only get 3 handouts. And after your 3rd handout, you'll be classed as unable to look after your children. So they've set up there, run by these Zionist pigs, the method by which they can remove your offspring. This is what it's all being set up against now. I mean, we had somebody on last week, not sure whether she was real or not, but you know, referrals, you really have to understand that what this referral is and pass it on to people, you know, your family that have children at school and that they understand. You send your child to school, you've got then all these staff looking, they're trained to look for everything slight and a referral, and they get 12 grand. So if you've got a school that's struggling because it's not getting much off government, can you see how it's all shifting to corporate funding? And this is how then, when they've achieved that, that's when they'll shift this system into the avatar world. So all your children now, they're almost built as avatars already, and this system will be hedging that first. All the suckers of all ages that have sucked into this program with the shot, you're in this avatar system too. I mean, it doesn't matter if you want to create an avatar for me. Mine would say, Keep away from him. He's fucking crazy. He doesn't give us anything. He doesn't pay us anything. He just abuses us. And I'm happy with that because they need abusing, the bums. Yes, that's all I have for them. Offer abuse. They're just shit. Although having said that, I don't really need to run around abusing them anymore because they leave me alone again. And I'm happy with that too. And until they have another bash and then off we go again. So where are we? Yeah, they don't have to be sneaky anymore. This is why they're so blatant and blasé with it, is because the population is stupid. And they don't know they're stupid. They still think they're fantastic and amazing. You know, have you seen some of these patents for some of the stuff that they're putting in these Ebola? Now, I don't know whether it's in it or not, but there are patents for Ebola and I can't remember which other one begins with M. I think it's parasitic. It's a parasitic condition, Marburg, I think. But there are patents been made, US patents, in how they get these in shots. No, I don't know whether it's in this one. I'm not saying that. It's being suggested that they are, but the patents do exist. So, I mean, you can do wrong for your agenda by putting parasites in people. Just in the same way sushi. I mean, so many people that have sushi, they're full of them, parasites and all sorts. There are something today I watched where they're supposed to cut the scrotum off the fish so it's not in the sushi. And apparently one woman, they hadn't. And these parasites that were in the scrotum had embedded themselves in his mouth and throat. Ugh. If you want to link up beneficiary, no problem. Not a problem. You've got my email, just send me an email, no problem. I'll meet up with anybody, mate. I'm not shy. Are we doing this every week? Well, I mean, if I could come up with a subject matter that's worth discussing, yeah. Or maybe if we were to do this every week, then so if I come in with some data, and then maybe you guys can bring some data into it and we can discuss it. How about that? That'll probably be easier when I get a new system and I can get the software I need. Do you know what I mean? And we can see the documents, we can see live on here, like that kind of thing. And if we can do that, I could probably do more live streams rather than making videos, to be honest. Because if I can actually show the documents, there's nothing to stop me doing it live. It's just I don't do many live streams because this is all it is. My ugly face talking bollocks to you guys. That's pretty much all you can do on a live stream without that software, which my computer won't open because they won't let me update it. I've tried to make more Apple accounts. They won't let me make an account. A bunch of puffs. What they scared of? Little on me. What little? Anyway. Do I know anybody who's restored their certificate? What do you mean restore? The trust belongs to the Crown. It's not about doing anything with it apart from recognising your position with it. It isn't you. It is not who you are. If you say you are it, that name, you're fucked. They've got you. You've really got to understand two things. It isn't you, and you don't own it. And the certificate itself is the evidence that you are the beneficiary of that trust. The trickery comes in them having you admit that you are it. So they say ID. Can you see how important it is that you shift the way you see things? You don't have to do. I mean, I've had somebody talking to me this week about would it be a good idea to open up on Companies House limited company and keep it dormant as a gatekeeper to protect you? Oh yeah, that would work. But why do you need to do that? If you understand that your relationship to that trust is that you have an interest in it, and that if you're operating it, it's settle a beneficiary, unless you need to be trustee, but that you're choosing, then you also understand that it exists, but it doesn't belong to you. But you have use of it. Yeah, but it's not who you are. And the minute you claim you are, or suggest in any way that you own it, that's fraud. you've joined it. You've given them what they want. Who claimed it back? Look, I know a lot of people that have done a lot of things, and I know people that have completely and utterly closed it. Yeah, collapsed it. One guy in particular I know I've spoken to who's done that and did that a long time ago, and he says he's quite happy to live outside the system. I didn't speak to him long enough to understand fully how he does that, but I'd say that's the only guy I know. It doesn't mean to say that others haven't, because not everybody that does this wants to tell the world. Do you know? Not everybody is interested in helping anybody else. It's they find something and then they run off with it. But again, I can't blame them for that either. I mean, when you get yourself into a position where you've created a standing that's got value and worth and a bit of power, then why would you need to continue banging your head against a brick wall, trying to wake up the numpties who are never going to wake up in a million years? It's not happening. You just have to close your circle and communicate and be around people that are the same kind of mind as you and want the same kind of things as you. Not how can we best bend down and bend over for the state to keep it happy so it doesn't shout at us. So we don't get put in detention, Fucking hell. Get put in detention. I had the record at Moorhead, right? And I'll bet it's never been broken. I had the most detentions in one term because I was in detention before I went into class, break, dinner, afternoon break, and after school for a full term. I did do something very naughty, but even so, I held the record, and I'll bet it's never been broken since. On top of that, I was Gatler cane often because I quite enjoyed it, because I didn't like them Marsden, because he enjoyed it too much. So I declared war against Mr. Marsden, knowing full well he could whack me as many times as he wanted, even with my mother's permission. He would never get me to change or do whatever he wanted. In fact, I would do the contrary. So I am, that with me at school. I loved it. I loved Moorhead as a school. Full of birds. What else could you ask for? Is you go somewhere every day that's just full of birds and you can show off all day. It's perfect for me with that. So I loved it. I didn't like primary school though, because I was a Catholic in a Protestant school. And the teachers knew it, and some of them really didn't like me at all. And poor me, I didn't even know I was a Catholic, and I didn't know I was in a Protestant school. So I had no idea why that energy was flowing around me back then, but now, of course, I do. So shame on them teachers, the bitches. I did get them back, though. But we'll say no more about that. I might incriminate myself. So, I haven't heard of this particular fellow before. Ooh! Who are we talking about? I don't know who you're talking about. Well, I've got lost in that. Can we start with the Geospatial Commission? What's that then? That sounds a bit interesting. The voice from Your Highness. Let's create your face, man. My face is horrendous. It looks terrible on this camera. You can show every blemish. I've cut myself shaving here. I've got a little red mark here that I've had for years. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't go. It must be a blood vessel right up at the surface or something. Oh, check the value search. Yeah, I can do that. Last time I checked, I had 2 off my working birth certificate, actually, sorry, with my national insurance number. One were worth 22 million, and the other I think we're going up to 18 billion. Well, I probably made him a fortune, keep going to court, taking him to court, doing this, doing that. Yeah, they would probably love me if I made him a fortune. Gumshoe Sleuth, yeah, he's very good. Craig. I got told off, actually. I actually put a comment on one of his videos, but I was a bit quick to do it and then buggered off. And then somebody sent me an email going, what do you mean? How you changed he's a bad? And because I put he's a bad one, but meaning obviously he's fantastic and amazing because he's a bad one. So I had to go back to the comment and just make it clear in case people were thinking I was saying he was no good, don't listen to him. Craig's a good lad. Yeah, I think he might be a bit of a northerner as well, so that makes him even better. You know what I'm saying? But I think his best mates were Rob off observation deck as well, and they're up to no good. They're up to mischief. So all I can say, I don't even know what they're up to, but they're up to mischief, and I believe they're going to spew it next year. So keep your eyes on them dodgy buggers, the proper dodgy. I mean, that observation deck geezer, he's down in bloody. He might as well. He's in center. He's in the center of the Germanic power down there, where them Southerns live. I'll tell you that. So it's a wonder he hasn't been shot. To be honest, and maybe he's got a. Maybe his wife is a good guide dog. I don't know, and I don't mean that in a derogatory manner, but he's doing well to do his thing down there. Is all I'll say. Yeah, Gumshoe, I definitely recommend him. Although he doesn't like everybody subscribing because they kick him off. I think if he gets to a certain amount, he shuts his channel down. So, it's still Sabdin. Hey. Yeah, Pendle, which country that for anybody that's not local to Lancashire? Sabdin. You've got quite a few players in Sabden, my friend, in the arts that shouldn't be carried out. I have a mate in Sabden as well, Mick Trelly, I think they call him. I can't remember where his street is, but if you come in off Whalley Road up through Sabden and you get to road that goes up to Pendle, if you go up that street, is it Wesley Street or Wensley Street? So I don't know whether you know Mick Trelly. He's a mate of mine. He's an excellent musician. We did a bit of work together a few years ago, and I never released them. I never released the stuff. Only Sabdin. Yep, your birth certificate is Bond. Yeah, that's another one. You're right there, Ray. So many people. It's the date of issue, not your date of birth. Because you were born on your born day, and then the certificate was birth, the ship, when you registered. Important, these things, because although it's getting a bit worse now, courts just don't give a toss. The state doesn't give a toss anymore. I've got questions that have been unanswered. They've tried a bit of shenanigans, but they're still not answering the question. But let's end on this note, because this is one thing that's been missed in this whole game that we're on now. It's pretty obvious now with what they're doing with our Queenie. They're sort of getting ready to get you used to her gone. Okay? So this is the danger, people, because this is the plan. And that is, when the Queen dies, the next imp to be put on the throne of our great nation, England, will not be swearing on the Bible. Now, I don't care whether you hate the Bible or not. This nation is built in the Bible. America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, is built on England's biblical common law. This next piece of shit is going to oath on something else, and that will be the end. And I think these courts are not hanging on, pissing about, in readiness for when that takes place, and then all bets are off. We need to promote that everywhere, that is what they're going to do, so that everybody sees it, knows it, so that when it happens, if it happens, we don't want that to happen. It's so serious, that, and shifting us out of all the freedoms that everybody's worked hard since the 60s to undermine by dropping out and undermining. Anyway, we'll not get into the baby boomers. So who's dead already? Well, who knows? Who knows? But the line does seem to live quite long lives anyway, and 100 and odd, it's not out of it, is it? So we're going to lose a lot when Lizzie pops her clogs or is removed from the public. And we need to be aware of that. And it needs to be spread, because people are not even aware that that's what's going to take place, and then it's going to change everything. Then we are going to be seriously. It's going to be force. It's going to be force pushed in, and if we're not in the capacity to remove it, you know what's coming. The Commission have looked. The new mayors of statutory spatial planning orders, all property land. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, well that does need looking at, definitely. Like geo. Oh shit, what's it called? Let me have a look. Geo. See, this is where they're going to create false boundaries in the avatar world, in your apps. So you forget your real physical borders. The new borders that these apps and avatars are going to be fining you on for crossing, etc. They're all going to be inside this blockchain system, and it's called, what's it called? I can never bloody find what I want. Oh, I've gone too far, that's why. It's called geofencing. Yeah. And this is how in the digital world you're going to be, it's going to determine where you are on the land, not necessarily the borders that we know in the physical. So that's another one that needs to be got into people's minds with this avatar system. You know, each time you take on these apps and all this nonsense, you're just putting this system into play. Geofencing, yeah. And with that, chaps and chapesses, I'm going to say, till the next time.